Yeah.
unless I'm in an office,
Yeah,
setting.
no worries. All right, let me join. I'm gonna share my screen with you. Okay, good. All right, you should see my screen now.
Got it.
Good. All right, so a couple things I want to do is I want to just basically show you my PowerPoint briefly of what I typically do on my trainings. The first
Hmm.
thing I typically start out with is going over the drugs and what's actually happening with drugs in a specific area, depending on the
Okay.
audience. You obviously have a lot of data and you've been doing this for a while. A lot of the people that I talk with don't have a lot of data and don't know exactly what's really going on. So I want to dive in and basically teach them what's happening with drugs today. So I show them some stats on a national level, and then depending on where I am, is I'll have some stats on a local level. So, for example, this shows you that we had an estimated 64,000 deaths in 2017. We should have those final numbers soon. Drug-involved overdose deaths. It tells you what type of drugs. As you can see, synthetic opioids are way up there. Heroin's way up there. Cocaine, meth, methadone, right? And then number of deaths overall from drugs, breaking down male and female. National overdose deaths from heroin, male and female. And then
Hmm.
some basic data. People who begin using addictive substances before 15 are nearly 7 times likely to become addicted than those who first delay first use until age 21. 9 out of 10 people with addiction started using substances before they turned 18. Very interesting stat from Duke University that very hard hitting and good for people to know that are working with kids, that we want to start hitting them young, getting them some true data to think with. Not that we don't want to work with the kids that are already on drugs, but our program is geared toward prevention and education of the younger kids. 15 to 20 is kind of where we start, 14 to 13, depending on where you are, right? If you're in an inner city and you have drug use at a lower age rate, perfect. Go in there at a younger rate, get them some data. Then I go into marijuana. Marijuana harmless, is it non-addictive? Now, this is a great graph that I found. I couldn't find one that was after 2011. Are you familiar with THC?
I'm familiar with how high the levels are today as compared to they were in the past.
Exactly. And that's really all this graph is telling you. It's basically showing you that THC from the 60s has gone through the roof. And then CBD, or cannabidiol, which is the drug that the medical profession is trying to claim has medical benefits, that hasn't changed. So the THC level is going up, meaning people are getting higher, more hallucinations, more addictive, and the CBD or cannabidiol hasn't changed. So it's kind of scary when you talk to people my age, 40s, and like, yeah, I was smoking pot in the 80s and 90s. You got to look here where the THC level was then compared to where it is now, and it's actually up around here now, which is intense. So it's not the same drug,
Yeah.
and it's a real wake up call. And a lot of the marketing of marijuana now is geared towards kids. It looks like candy, is candy in a lot of senses, but it gets you high, right? And that's that's what the scary aspect of it is. 1 in 16 become addicted. So 1 in 10 adults and 1 in 6 adolescents who try marijuana will become addicted to it. The
Hmm.
adolescent brain is especially susceptible to marijuana use. When kids use, they have a greater chance of addiction since their brain is being primed. Great thing to put in front of adults that think that marijuana is safe, and also health teachers and also kids, getting them to know that fact is very important, because a lot of these kids don't realize. They think it's safe and nothing's wrong with it. It's an everyday drug. I mean, it's an everyday
Hmm.
herb. It's natural. It won't hurt you. Just a lot of false lies and data. Kind of around the same topic of cigarette back in the 40s and 30s and 50s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, where cigarettes were fine. They weren't addictive. They were harmless, right? And obviously, we all know where that epidemic went, right? So marijuana use has sufficient effects on IQ. There was a great study done in 2004 by Duke University in New Zealand, where they actually did IQ tests before and after extensive marijuana use. And what they discovered is that IQ on average was reduced by 8 to 10 points and it never went back up. So it makes you stupid and keeps you stupid. That's kind of the thing that we push, making sure these kids understand that fact. Colorado, one of the first test beds for marijuana legalization, and there's a lot of data coming out of Colorado over the past number of years since they've legalized that isn't broadly known. A couple great studies by Rocky Mountain Research that really go into the details of what's going on there. And you'll notice a lot of these are not mainstream. They get kind of swept under the rug and not really looked at, just because there's a lot of money in marijuana for the states. But it hasn't been successful for these guys at all. Yeah, here's a study from 2013. There's one that they did last year, which is great. I can send you a PDF of that as well, which is really hard-hitting. Basically, what it's showing is that from 2007 to 2009, average of 5.6% of students were actually doing pot. And then 2010 to 2012, it went up 150%. So they legalized in 2010 and 100% increase in kid abuse. And that's even gone up way higher than that since 2012. But basically what I'm trying to show here is that when you legalize, the kids start smoking pot, right? You can see this instant jump right away, right after legalization, went up 115%, 150%, which is huge. So, these states think, oh yeah, only adults are going to smoke pot. No, they're not. And I've talked, And I've talked to a lot of drug dealers, and believe it or not, Colorado is one of the largest sources of marijuana in the states today. They have huge factories there pumping out pot, and these guys will go in there, they'll pick up bags of pot, they'll jump on a Greyhound, and they'll drive right back to Florida or California or wherever it's not legal, and they'll just start selling it on the streets, which is, pretty nasty. Increased traffic fatalities in Colorado. Fatalities involving drivers testing positive to marijuana rose 120% from 2013 to 2016. So after legalization, again, boom, marijuana deaths in traffic accidents completely increased. Total crashes in Colorado went down, however, increase in drivers crashing that were high. Obviously, you smoke pot when you're high, it's driving under the influence. A lot of kids don't realize that. They don't realize the penalties of that, and they don't realize the dangers of that. They think it's safe and effective and nothing's going to happen, and then they crash into walls and other cars and kill people. Emergency room admissions, under 5. This is a really interesting stat because this talks about little kids under the age of 5 going to the emergency room for marijuana. Not something that people realize happens, but it's happening. It actually rose 200% in Colorado from 2006 to 2012. What's basically happening is these candies, these kids are getting into it. There was a story in Massachusetts a few months ago. Little kid found a bag of gummy bears on the floor of the bus, started eating them, almost died. They were marijuana. So it's scary. It happens. Okay, so now I have the overview video, which you've probably seen on our website. And then I'm going to get into our program and what we do. So basically what we've realized is that informed youth are actually drug-free youth. We want to give youth the truth about drugs. And our mission is to educate. Truth About Drugs program, it's easy to use, it's effective, and it's 100% free for educators. So our basic material kit is 5 steps. We have our educator package, our online interactive website, our booklets, our documentary, and our public service announcements. So the educator kit, which you probably got, is a box like this. It includes our full curriculum, has the documentary, and has 24 cents of booklets. It also has some great posters that you can use. The online interactive program, which I want to show you now, I'm going to go into this a little bit and kind of give you a little bit more reality on what this looks like. So we have two different interactive programs now. We have the online course for free for anybody. So if you're a kid, you're an adult, you go right here, go to our drugfreeworld.org, and you can come in here and you can take all these different courses on each one of the different chapters. Right, so if you want to know about marijuana, you want to know about heroin, you want to know about synthetic drugs, you can go right on in. It tells you 47 minutes long, and you can start the course. Literally, no contact info, nothing. And you just do the course. Watch the video, and then it walks you through asking you questions. Very simple, made for the broad public. And then we have
Okay.
education.drugfreeworld.org. I'll email you a copy of this link. This is our online educator curriculum for teachers and for people that are working with kids. This is what,
Okay.
so what you do here is you sign up as a teacher. It's free. You create your different classrooms. And then what you're going to do is you're going to send, if you look here where it says enroll a student, you're going to send class codes to your students. And your student,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So your student will come in, and because you can have 50 classes if you want, or 1,000 classes, doesn't matter. Each class has a separate code. So you give them that class. You say, hey, go to this link. Here's a class code. And the program will actually send out the emails for you if you want. You basically just enter in their email address, and it sends them the link with the class code. Now, we don't capture any of this data. It's stored on our server, but we don't use it for any marketing purposes. We don't even do anything with it. We don't ever even look
So
at
let me
it.
ask you a question. Let me ask you a question about the data. Would the teacher be able to look at the data as far as if students have actually looked at it
Yes.
or no?
Yes.
So you would have the ability to see each student that has actually viewed the material.
Yes. And there's actually interactive lessons. So they're going to watch a video, they're going to read some of the booklets, and then they're going to ask questions about that specific topic. They're going to be asked specific questions about that chapter, and they're going to answer them, and then they're going to submit those questions to you for grading. So the teacher actually grades the questions based on however they did. So it's perfect. So the kid can log in, they can do a lesson, they'll answer a bunch of questions, the teacher will look at it, and they'll literally give them a grade. And they can even write a message back to them and say, hey, you know what? I want you to rewatch that video. You didn't quite get it. Right? So it's really interactive. It's made to basically interact with the students, get the kids to look at it, get the kids to understand it, and apply the materials on a broad scale. That way you can have thousands of kids doing this as an extracurricular after school activity, right? As opposed to, something you would do in class, because you may not have in class. So a lot of our school resource officers like this. We work with a lot of school resource officers around the country. I'll actually send you an email, which is a great referral letter from the president of the National Association of School Resource Officers, where he's basically telling everybody to use it. They have 15,000 cops around the country that work in schools. And he's basically saying, use our program, learn about our program, implement our program. It's safe, it's effective, it's free, and we endorse it. So what they're finding is the cops don't have a lot of classroom time, right? They used to do a lot of DARE. They had in-class time. Now that's going away, right? Their job's becoming more protect the kids from getting killed, right? So which is unfortunate but true. So what this is doing is this is giving you the ability to have the same interactive ability with the kids, but as an after school activity. Where the cop may come in and say, okay, guys, you're all going to be given these online lessons. We're going to send you an email. It's going to give you a link. Go in and fill it out. You have this semester to finish it. So we're getting a lot of that, which is great. So when you log in, you basically see your classrooms. You see your lessons that have been done. You can build your new classes, create a class, view lesson listings, and so forth. So when you go in and you create a new class, let's see here real quick. Give me 1 second. So let's say, for example, right, we want to create a new class, and we want to call it and we're going to say, okay, we have students from age 14 to 18, or let's say 20. Estimated number of students a year. Expected number of hours per class a year. We're going to have, say, 20 hours. Create the class. Now what this is doing is it's building the class in the background right now. Class created, right? I think I just created it twice. And then I can go into, where's my classes? Yeah, my internet's running a little bit slow right now. Sorry about that. Other classes, here we go. This will take you to the classes that you create, so you can create one for everybody. And then here you have your class. And if you look here, oh, where is it? Here's your class code for this one. And then once you get into the other one, here it is. Here's your class code, right?
Okay.
And you can take that code, and that's basically what you want to send out to people. This shows you if you have any notifications from anybody from doing lessons. And then here's your students, where you would add your students. I'll send you a link to this. You can log in and play around with it. It's really easy and intuitive, pretty self-explanatory once you get in there. If you need anybody to get a more in-depth understanding of it, let me know. So add students to your registration class. So what you do here is you see where it says email this class code.
Mm-hmm.
You click on that, and what that will do is it will actually open up a new email like this. And then what you can do is you can just copy and paste this and send it to everybody.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it's neat. So then they here's the link, here's the class registration code, and then they go in and they click on here, and what this does is this takes you back to this page here to enroll as a student, and it gives you the code. Where's my, here it is. Here's the code you enter. Just copy and paste that code right there. Boom, you're good to go. And now they're in your class, and then you can look at their lessons, see how well they're doing. It's really simple. Anyway, so that's the online interactive program that we have, and they can download this on a an iPad or an Android, or do it on the web as well. We do have an iPad app, and there's also an iPad app for the teachers, which is really cool. I don't know if you use iPad or Android, same thing. The app's basically the same. So you can log in and you can see the students did. You can grade their lessons all from your tablet, which is really neat. And then we have our booklets. So we have these 14 booklets, which we can give out in any quantity that you need. We do have a booklet set that includes all 14 of the booklets. And when you order the educator guide, you get 24 of those sets. The booklets do come in boxes of 200. And you can also download PDF versions of them at drugfreeworld/downloads. So if you wanted to email them to somebody, if you wanted to put them on your tablet to show somebody, you want to put them on your computer to show somebody, however you want to do it, they're all there, the whole PDF of every one of these booklets. And you've seen the booklets already, right? So you have a little idea of how big they are. Yes, they're not that big. They're small and easy to hand out. What we do a lot of is we'll have give the schools a booklet that they're having trouble with. Let's say marijuana, for example. A lot of kids smoking marijuana. We'll have the school give every kid a copy of it. So, for example, in Alabama, we just sent them 1.8 million booklets, and they're giving them to all of the middle and high school kids. And we also just trained all of the state of Alabama for them to start rolling this out in all the classrooms 6 through 12, which is cool. So they're doing our full curriculum in the classrooms right now. So realize there's no limit to the number of booklets you need or we can give you. You just have to let us know what you need, but give us 4 to 6 weeks for delivery on large orders. If it's a few hundred here, a few hundred there, we can get those out pretty quickly. But for something like, if you wanted 2 million booklets, give us 4 to 6 weeks to get delivery on those. So just think with that when you're thinking with distribution. If you need something for September, you may want to let us know as soon as possible, right? Mm-hmm. So think with that. All right. And then we have our documentary, which you've watched already, right?
Yeah.
Great. Very interactive, very hard hitting. We're actually looking at adding some more testimonials from some more well-known figures or sports figures that have actually done drugs and have seen our program, but also to talk about drug abuse and what it's done to them and how it's affected their career in sports. Maybe we interview someone like you, or we interview anybody else and we put them on the video and just show people, hey, look, you want to play sports pro? Yeah, drugs isn't going to help you, right? Things like that. Because you get a lot of these kids that really want to go pro, and they have a lot of attention on that. When they start seeing some really, real people that have been there and done it and went pro, and then what happened after drugs and what happened, it's just a little bit more impactful, right? As you know. Right. So we're looking at doing that as well. And we also just added the synthetic chapter, which is basically the chapter on synthetic drugs. That just came out about 7 or 8 months ago. So we're constantly adding more and more materials as we do more research. And our booklets are getting updated as well. For example, the marijuana booklet was just updated. We did an extensive research with the DEA on drug abuse and
Uh-huh.
marijuana abuse, and we added a lot of great stats and figures to that booklet. So it's constantly being evolved and added to as we move through to keep it up to date. Now, have you seen the public service announcements yet?
Not really. I
Okay,
haven't seen the program. I haven't had a chance to go into it that deep.
no worries. If you go to drugfreeworld.org,
Hmm.
where am I here? If you go to drugfreeworld.org and you go to where is it? Watch videos.
Hmm.
This will take you to the 16 public service announcements. They're all 1 minute long.
Okay. Okay.
It's also on the DVD if you have a copy of the DVD.
I saw it on the DVD. I just didn't get a chance to go through it as depth. I saw that some of the actual programs are linked to that also.
They
So
are.
as you're going through them, you watch them.
You got it. Exactly. Very, very basic and hard hitting. Now, there's a lot you can do with these PSAs.
Hmm.
If you know anyone in TV or has a TV station, or if you know any of the schools that have TV stations in the schools, a lot of these schools will have screens throughout the hallways. They'll show those on those screens.
Okay.
Another great place is registries of motor vehicles usually have TV screens. They'll
Hmm.
play these. We have the state of Massachusetts, for example, playing these all across the state and all the registries, and a bunch of other places like that. So just, you can do whatever you want with it. There's no restrictions to using our materials. The only thing
Okay.
we ask is don't edit it. If you do edit it, send it to us for approval because we want to make sure it's high quality. We've had some issues where people were, editing stuff and it was bad. It was horrible quality.
I don't want to. I don't want to edit anything, so you don't have to worry about that. What's just edit something that's already together,
I'm with
and
you.
that makes no sense to me.
I get it. Sometimes people want to add their message at the beginning or the end or add their contact info, and that's fine. We're okay with that, but just let us look at it before you do it because we may end up editing it for you and make it look better.
Well, actually, if you want to put something together for the my program and add it in, that'd be fine with me. If you want to do that already, I mean. But other than that, I don't see a reason
Oh,
for
oh,
me to do anything other than that. I really don't. I just
okay.
want to make sure we have the ability to use it in what we're doing, and that's kind of it.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, I get you. And maybe we can work something out with that. Let me look into that for you. That's a possibility. So there's our public service announcements. We have 17 of those. Those have been shown all around the world on major TV stations. They're great fillers for these TV stations. They love to add in PSAs, and these are really high quality. You'll see when you watch them how high quality they are. They're very good. I have a couple of them in here that I'm not going to get into right now. And then we have our full curriculum, which is 19 55-minute lessons. Simple to use. All materials are included. It literally walks you through how to use it. We've also created a driver education curriculum. I don't know if you work with any driver ed.
We have one here. We have a driver's education department.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, we work a lot with them around the country. What we've found is that driver education has a mandatory amount of time they have to spend with kids on drugs and alcohol, and the materials that they've been typically using are horrible. They're out of date. They're old. They don't work well. So what we've done is we've created an hour-and-a-half curriculum for driver ed. It's very effective. It's very simple to use, and we're in thousands of driver ed schools around the country right now.
So that's also within the website. You can have access to that.
No, that's actually separate. We're building a page for the driver ed guys right now, but it's not done yet. It should be done soon. Yeah, but I do have
approximate date. Have approximate.
I would say Q4. So end of the year, last 3 months of the year, somewhere in that time frame.
Okay.
Yeah, but I do have the PDF of that I can send out. I have all the materials that I send, a little package that we send out to driver ed teachers. For example, this coming weekend, I'm actually going to the American Driver Traffic Safety Education Association in Chicago. It's their annual convention. We've had a booth there for the past 8 years. I've personally spoken and delivered seminars at that event about 6 times now. So we have a great partnership with them. They promote us a lot. Those are the public sector driver ed schools. So if you have a driver ed school in a public school, those guys are your organization. And then there's the Driving School Association of the Americas, which is the public facing driver ed private sector. So if you wanted to open up a driver ed school, get licensed by your state and go and do driver ed, you would typically become a member of that organization, and they would basically help you and give you materials and tools to become more effective in what you're doing. And they give out our materials to every one of their teachers, and any of the new members that come on, they give them our materials as well to use. So we're very integrated with the driver ed community right now, and that's growing every day. Just because as you know, the materials are great, they're easy to use, and they're free, and driver ed has to do drug and alcohol, and we're just a great fit for that. So think with that as you come across any driver ed schools, they can use our materials. What else? I just have some videos in here. And then we have our online classroom, which I just showed you a minute ago. There's also a tremendous amount of downloads at drugfreeworld.org/downloads. Let me show you that. Okay, so on this website, you can download all the booklets in PDF.
Okay.
You can download this great pledge for kids and adults, which is, let me open that for you real quick to show it to you. So basically, you pledge to be drug-free, and then you have the kids sign this. We have a lot of success of printing these out on posters, like a poster board, and then having the kids come up and sign it.
You know what I think would be an excellent video for you guys to do from what I've seen?
What's that?
That one that I think that has not been looked at and has not been done is telling the adults, don't turn your little brother on. Don't turn your little cousin on.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Put the pressure back on those adults not to turn them on, because see, that's how it's transferring. And from what I see, when your platform, you have everything covered there. What about a PSA or a number of PSA specifically dealing with that? Because that will slow down the traffic. We can maybe halt the passing of it on, you know?
Oh, I totally agree. That's freaking amazing. I love that. I'm just taking a note here. Okay, I'm gonna talk to the powers that be and see if we can get something made. I think that's a wonderful idea. You know, yeah, you're welcome. Find some people that have done that and get them to talk, because there's a lot of you'll notice a lot of the drug dealers in our chapters.
Well, I'll give you an idea. I'll give you an idea of something that happened to me, and maybe you can take and you can do something with this. On my team, generationally, this is what's being passed on. And maybe you'll do a documentary of this. I had a meeting with the person that introduced me, the person that introduced him, and the person that introduced him. It was a line of succession where the introduction was happened.
Wow. Was this on your basketball team?
Yes.
No kidding.
High school.
Oh, wow. When did you have that meeting? After?
Yeah, I had that meeting maybe 7, 8 years ago.
And how long had you been off drugs since at that point?
Oof. Maybe 13 years.
Wow.
Something like that.
That's cool. That's a great meeting, man. That must have been awesome.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be really cool to just get all those guys in the same room and video them and talk about how they actually did that.
Well, that's not going to happen because one of them is the chief of police.
Oh.
You know, so,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of giving you some ideas and some things, and I think that will be powerful, and I think that's a missing link that has never been covered.
That's a good point.
Putting the pressure on individuals not to. Don't pass on.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah, you're killing people. Interesting. I like it. That's a great idea. All right, let me make some phone calls and send some emails about that. So I'm gonna go back into this real quick. So here's all the documentary chapters. You can actually download high quality versions of them here. So if you wanted to embed them, like if you notice here in my PowerPoint, I actually embedded the videos. And the reason I did this is because I go to different trainings all over the place, and sometimes I don't have internet. Like I was at at a hotel in DC, and where we were, the Wi-Fi didn't work, and I wouldn't have been able to show these videos. So if you ever are in that situation, just know you can actually download these, or if you want to put them, on your computer to show people, you can do that as well. They're all They're all downloadable. All the PSAs, all the documentaries, and and then you can get all the booklets as well. All right, what else is there? Yeah, it's all all right there. And then the booklets, we already went over this. You can get any quantity of them that you can use. And
I like the fact that you can embed them in a PowerPoint.
yes.
That's kind of cool.
It is cool. It's actually pretty easy to do too. I've done it. It's not as complicated as you think. When you download it, you just put it right in here and boom, there it is. This is the PowerPoint framework. It's right in there as a video. And what I do is I make, because it doesn't fit the whole screen.
Mm-hmm.
So I just put down here a little black square and then I type in which one it is. And then when I hit play, there it is, Truth About Marijuana, and the video plays right up here.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it's really neat. And you can download a good quality version of it too, so it's not, doesn't look cheesy.
I see that. It's really nice.
It really is. All right, so you've seen the educator guide already, right?
Yeah.
You have it. Do you have any questions on the use of that?
No, not at all. It's pretty explanatory, very explanatory.
It really is. And I have a whole training. I can dive into that at some point if you need me to, or if you have trainers that you want me to specifically train on how to use that, I can do that. Right?
Okay. Well, I'll be one of them. I'll be one of the, I would like to know how to do that,
okay.
Me personally.
Okay, great. Well, let's take a couple minutes and I'll go over that for you.
Okay.
Because I want to make sure you're as successful as possible. Let me just find it here real quick. Where is it? This will be easier. So
I mean, it's pretty, for someone who has experience, it's pretty easy because it's just like A, B, C, D. I mean, you can't go wrong. Tells you what PSA to go to, and
that's right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not that complicated. The key thing that I have found in the success of this educator guide, right, is to not be a robot. Right. A lot of people will do these lesson plans. I'm just going to go down to a lesson plan, just to give you an example, right?
Okay.
I've seen a lot of people do the lesson plans, and they just basically read word for word what it is, and they're not interacting or communicating with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So here's lesson 1, right? The purpose: to help students understand that they can learn from the experience of others who have taken drugs. Here's the materials that you're going to use. Here's the time that you're going to roughly spend on it. Now, this is a rough estimate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's not rote, and it all depends on how much time you have, right? Realize that. If you want to spend more time on discussion because you have an hour-long or 2-hour class, then you do that. That's fine. Here's a teacher emphasis. Teacher preparation. Prior to the lesson, watch the videos, read the inside cover of the booklets, copy and download of the questionnaires. So what you should do is do the questionnaires before and after if you can to see how it's working. And then here's your lesson plan. Tell students they're going to participate in a drug education program called Truth About Drugs. Ask students to take a minute and think about the possible benefits of knowing truth about drugs. Write down their answers. When they say they have done this, have students share their answers. So this is really, I see a lot of people skipping this section here, like the interaction. Get the kids to communicate with you. Okay, good. So you wrote down the possible benefits of knowing about drugs. Now give me some of your answers. Tommy, what did you understand over there? What did you write? And then let them share and communicate about it. The whole key to this point, right, is making it real, right? It has to become real to those kids and those individuals of what they're doing and why they're doing it. And what you're trying to do here is you're trying to make that real to them, right? That's really what you want to do, is by getting those kids to discuss that. You want them to actually have that chapter or that topic you're talking about become real to them. Give examples. If a lot of you guys that are talking have been there and done that, have them talk about that. Right?
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. You have to get them to respond to know what you're dealing with.
That's right.
You may have only 2 students that have done it. You may have 12 students that have done it. Sometimes you can look at them in their face when you start talking about it. They get this look. I mean, you can kind of get the gist. Kids who are not worried about it just be, they just go through it. Other kids will be looking around at each other. Sometimes they're telling each other.
You're right. Yeah, man, you're absolutely right. So basically, that's one of the key emphasis I have is when you're having these discussions, make it simple and real. And then, obviously this framework is here as a guideline. So fill out the questionnaires, show public service announcements, discuss what they saw in the PSA, show the documentary chapter, discuss what they saw in the chapter, and then the activities. These activities are very helpful, and it really gets the kids involved. Ask students to think of one question they have about drugs and write the question on an index card, collect the cards, and post them in the classroom. Invite students to look at the questions prior to the next drug lesson. So here's something that you do. Post it. The kids come and look at it. Oh, wow, I had that question too. Oh, I didn't even think of that. That's a good question. It gets them thinking. And then homework assignments and so on. Now, what I've seen here is the first 4 lessons, right, is why is drug education necessary? Our drug culture. The next one is.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
How many lessons have homework assignments?
They all should. They all have a basic.
I want to make sure.
Yeah, they're all basic homework assignments. Yeah, and they're simple. They're not long homework assignments. The next one, lesson 3, why do people take drugs? And then lesson 4 is where is it? Here we go. How do drugs affect the mind? Now, these first 4 lessons, I have a lot of people squeeze those into a 90-minute class or 2 30 or 45-minute classes just because they don't have a lot of time. So you can kind of crunch those down and make them into one if you want to. It's up to you, right? Obviously, if you have the time with the kids, then spend the time with the kids. If you don't, then you only have a little limited time, then fine. Crunch it down. But then this is where you now get into lesson 5 to lesson 19 is where you're actually getting into each drug specific, right? So now you have marijuana, heroin, cocaine, crystal meth, all the different drugs have their own lesson. So what I say here is try to understand your audience as much as you can, and then pick some of the lessons that are geared towards that audience, right? If you know that marijuana is very heavily used in the 9th grade class you're going into, do a marijuana lesson, right? If you know there's a lot of kids between 17 and 18 dying from heroin in that area, when you go to talk to those 17 and 18-year-olds, do a heroin lesson, right? Make sure you fit those in. If you don't have enough time to cover all of the different drugs, then pick the drugs that you can and cover those. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And then it's really just as simple as studying it. Get familiar with it. Know what you're going to be talking about, right? So the purpose is to educate students in marijuana 1, right? For example, purpose is to educate students on the facts about marijuana, its short-term and long-term impact on a person's health and well-being. You're going to show the public service announcement gateway. You're going to show the truth about marijuana, and you're going to hand out the marijuana booklet. And then you get copies of understanding drug assignments sheet for all students. So show PSA, show documentary chapter, discussion, vocabulary. This is very important, this vocabulary piece. It's actually been found through studies that going past a word you don't understand will cause major confusion for people. The next time you're in a classroom setting, right, and you say a word that you think some of those kids may not understand, I want you to watch at the actual response of those students after you said that word. There's actually going to be physical things that occur, and those things are what people call ADD. They'll start fidgeting, they'll stop paying attention, they'll chew on their pencils, they'll look out the window, right? You'll actually see these physical manifestations occur within a child, or anyone, and for that matter, when you throw out that word that they don't understand. So that's why we put these vocabulary words. And keep that in mind too whenever you're doing a class. Keep the words that they're not going to understand to a minimum. Or if you say a word you don't think they understand, tell them what it means. And because the reason here is you're going to do a discussion, you're going to clear up some vocabulary words, then they're going to read some of the booklet. And if they know the words in the booklet before they read it, they're going to be better off. They're going to understand it. And then you're going to have a discussion about it, do a little bit more reading, a discussion about it, and then an assignment at the end. Shouldn't take you more than an hour, right? And then this part right here, this teacher preparation is really key. These teachers need to know what they're doing, right? So prior to the lesson, have them watch the public service announcement, have them watch the documentary chapter on marijuana or whatever it is, and then have them read that booklet. Copy and download, print copies of the assessment sheet or the understanding of the drug assessment sheet. Every chapter has an understanding of drug assessment sheet. And then set up a DVD player, make sure you have all the materials, obviously, right? Be sure to solicit the student's response. It works well when doing a vocabulary session to state the word, give a definition and examples of use, and then call on a student to give you the definition in his own words. Call on a next student, B, and ask them to do the same thing, give you a sentence. Next student, give me the definition in your own words. Good, give me a sentence. Keep doing that until the kids get it, right? When students break into groups to do activities, appoint a leader for each group. That kind of gets you a little bit more control of it. And then all of the lessons on the drugs are all the same. They're just for a different drug. So you show the PSA, show the documentary, discuss, vocabulary words. Here's the basic vocabulary words you're going to cover. And then reading. Have students take turns reading out loud the following section, truth about drugs, truth about marijuana. How it's used, discussion. And have turns, the harmful effects of marijuana, short-term effects, long-term effects, on the road to drug abuse, discussion. Have them switch reading it. Ask students to write answers for each question on a sheet of paper, then discuss the correct answers and have the students grade their own papers. Marijuana comes from a plant, true or false? Can the use of marijuana lead to harder drugs, true or false? What are some of the short-term, long-term effects of marijuana? What are some of the short-term, then long-term? And then hand out copies of the understanding of the drug assessment sheet for each student, have them fill it out, and then collect them up. And then homework, tell students to complete reading the Truth About Marijuana booklet. Really, really basic. It really is. But the key here is whoever's doing the lesson should understand it, should read it thoroughly. And then also another key thing that I want to make sure I put on again is the words. Make sure the vocabulary is in, because these guys are going to read it and they're not going to know what laced means. They're not going to know what immune system means. They're not going to know what a gateway drug is or what bronchitis is, right? They're going to go, what does that mean? And they're just going to blow by it, and then they go by the words, they lose interest, they don't understand what they're studying. It doesn't have the same impact that you want it to have, right? So anyway, so make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're going through these words with them, but also make sure your teachers understand these words themselves, right? They need to read them and know what they are. And then all the different chapters are set up in the same way. Here's your understanding drug assessment sheet after each one of the lessons, same sheet, right? You'll notice here at the top of it, it says name of drug. It's the same one. They can print out 100 of these and just throw them in their bag. And when they get there, hand them out to the kids at the end, right? And then collect them up and understand what they're doing. This will give you a good idea of what the kids are what the kids' understanding level is. And then here's your truth about alcohol. Same exact process, right? Show PSA, show documentary traffic, discussion, vocabulary, reading, discussion. And then in some of these, we have skits that you do, which instead of having the kids read out loud or do as much discussion, you'll have them do a little skit. And you'll see here, here's the skit. Arrange students into groups of 4. Have each group write and perform a short skit demonstrating how someone's life could be affected by alcohol. The skit should be approximately 2 to 5 minutes long and should demonstrate what the student in the group learned about the effects of drug and alcohol in the lesson. Give the teams a few minutes to write their skits for the scripts, review the scripts, ensure that they are aligned with the purpose of the lesson and then activity, and then have them perform them. And then hand out copies of the lesson plan, and then tell students to finish reading the booklet as their homework assignment. Really, really basic. These skits are really good because it gets the kids involved and makes it fun, right? Some of them are really stupid and funny and like to play. Some of them will be really shy, but they'll get into it, right? So cool. That's the gist of it, Willie. Really simple, really to the point. I can, if you want me to do more of a lesson, like drill this with teachers, we can do that too. I've done that. I've gone and I've actually had a whole class of teachers and put them through 3 or 4 of the lessons, actually real time. Just did the lessons, made them the students, and then had a couple of them alternate and come up and do the lesson to the classroom. And they all got it. They saw the simplicity of it. The beauty.
Right. So that's how you do your trainer aspect of it. You do that part. Take them through the lessons, let them go through it. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Which is cool.
Have them do it. I'll do a lesson on them. Like, okay, I got a class of 20 teachers. I'm going to do a lesson on you guys. Here's lesson 1. We're going to do ecstasy. Okay. We're going to do ecstasy today. And I'm going to have you actually do the lesson on ecstasy. And, it says 55 minutes. I'll probably do it in 30, maybe 25 minutes. I'll kind of blow through it pretty fast because there's a different purpose with that. I'm doing it to teach them how to do it, right? So you can go a little faster. But it depends how much time I have. I had one 8-hour class I did once, which was, I'm like, wow, 8 hours. What the hell am I going to do for 8 hours? Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. So, I basically did an hour and a half to 2 hours of showing them all of our materials and having them understand our materials. And then I did 5 or 6 1-hour lessons and literally educated them. And they were blown away. They're like, wow, I didn't know that about marijuana. Oh, I didn't know that about heroin. You actually get them to do it. And they really had some realizations themselves, because these materials are great. They're hard hitting. They're simple. They're truthful. And they really do teach you what the drugs are. Now, remember, one key thing to remember here, Willie, is that our goal is to teach kids what drugs are, what they do, and how they affect them. We're not here to push down their throats, say no to drugs. They've been getting that their whole lives, and it obviously
Yeah.
it hasn't worked, right?
Yeah, give them the information so they can carry it with them and make their own decision. Make a better informed decision.
That's right. And there's one line at the beginning, at the end of the introduction to the Drug Free World chapter, the first chapter of the DVD, where this guy comes on and says, if you really want to know something, if you really want to do something, if you really want to do it, you should really know what it is. Just know what it is that you're doing. That's it. Know what it is that you're doing. And if you get those kids to get into that mindset of know what it is that you're doing, it's going to go a lot smoother, because they're like, you know what? You're right. I should know what I'm going to do, what it is that I'm going to be doing. If I want to be a professional basketball player, I need to know what that means. Mm-hmm. If I want to be a lawyer, I need to know what a lawyer actually is. What does a lawyer really do? Mm-hmm. Wow, I didn't know they wrote that much. I didn't know they did that much research. I don't want to do that.
I agree.
I want to go in the courtroom and just fight. Well, okay, a lot of lawyers, that's probably 1/10 of their job. That fighting in the courtroom is probably 1 hour a month, if you're lucky. Mm-hmm. And you're working 40, 50 hours a week. So you go, hey.
50 hours working, 1 hour actually in the courtroom.
Yeah, exactly, right? These guys don't think with that. They see Tom Cruise on TV fighting against Jack Nicholson. They go, I want to do that. Yeah, that's awesome. But you should really know what it is that you're getting into, because especially it's going to be your life, right? You're going to do drugs. That's going to consume your life. It's going to take over your life. It will be your life. So you should know what your life is going to look like before you do it.
Isn't it like 80% of the people in prison has some kind of drug, is related to some kind of drug addiction?
I don't know the exact number. I know it's up there, and I think that's probably a good stat that I should have, especially to give out to kids. I mean, give out to teachers to tell the kids. Mm-hmm. I'm going to write that one down. Because I've actually, I've heard similar stats. I just haven't done the research on it, but I'm going to do the research on that. I'll find out, because I think that's a wake-up call.
Yeah. And those, I think there's a higher statistic of like 90% of those who return to prison,
wow,
do it because of drugs. Once they get out, it's those two statistics were like staggering. It was like, it's almost like if you're going to do drugs, it's like, okay, hello, pick your cell,
Yeah, exactly.
You get addicted.
That's right. It's not going to be all about partying. Yeah. Yeah, that fun partying part is the first couple times.
Yeah.
And then you go, wait a second, why is this not fun anymore? How come I'm trying to rob people for money, or I'm on the street and don't know where I am, waking up in weird places, right? Or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, so do you have any questions for me?
None at all. Oh. Thank you very much. I think, thank you for going through this with me. And it's just, we can talk a little later, but I think, my objective is to equip our students here and to partner with you.
Good. Okay.
In some capacity, I don't know how that happens, how that translates, or how that would be worked in or well designed, or I'm not sure about that yet. But for now, I just want to thank you. For going through the program with me.
You're welcome.
It's a lot more than I thought it was, because the online component adds another layer.
It sure does. It's a whole other dimension, and it's just think with the number of kids that can now do this from the comfort of their own home or on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
Download the app.
Homework assignments.
That's right.
You can actually use as a course.
That's right.
As a part of a course.
You got it. Okay, guys, here's your homework. I'm going to send you an email with a link. Log in. That's right. Good.
Sounds like a winner.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad.
Well, I'll be in touch, and if there's anything else you think about, I've got to go in here and go over this handbook with the rest of the office. And I'll be in touch. How's that sound?
Sounds great. It's great talking to you, Willie. Thanks for taking the time.
Same. Thank you.
You're welcome. You take care now.
Okay. You too.
Bye-bye.